Okay, welcome, guest. Welcome back, and our guest is Comrade Bala Zaka, oil and gas analyst among a handful of professions. Thank you very much for being in here. Your passion is, it's palpable, and you are not in agreement with the state of affairs in the petrochemical sector, the petroleum sector, and all of that. So, what would you do? Is probably the most logical question, because you are not satisfied with what has been done so far.
Never.
You think that there's so much potential that hasn't been tapped. So in brief, how would you go about it that is different? But let me add Mr. Akiemi, who has called in, so that that can be a way, because I know that you're going to take more than 30 seconds to answer the question. No so good morning, Mr. Akiemi.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling.
It's my pleasure speaking to this channel. And my prayer for our incoming president-elect. Good morning, sir.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. It's my pleasure even talking to this TVC station today. And I really...
There seems to be a lot of background noise. I don't know if Mr. Akiemi is still there. Okay, see if you can get us back. There was background noise, and that might have tripped something. Yes. So what would you do?
Right, before that, let me start right from the petroleum industry bill. We got so many things wrong. If you do, and to me today, it is the media that is the last hope of the common man. The reason why I say so is because you keep dossier of people who have made promises to fix the Nigerian oil and gas industry, to fix our roads, our medical systems, and you have their records. Any of them that brings up his head, remind us. Sir, it's very simple. Very elementary, very elementary. This problem can be fixed. One thing about problems or even sicknesses is that even if you cannot cure it, know the exact problem. But it's only in Nigeria you cannot be able to solve the problems of vandalism. You cannot trace the criminals. You cannot be able to solve the problems of more illegal refineries. You cannot trace the criminal. Very simple.
That's beginning to suggest a kind of collaboration,
the solutions,
right?
Yes.
Okay, but before you go, Mr. Akiemi got back in. Mr. Akiemi, you back in? No. So sorry about that.
Sir, all you need for people who did basic secondary school, there is what we call flow chart. One thing about flow chart, I will give two examples. One thing about flow chart is you have start and you have an end. Between start and end, you have that system where you must have decision boxes or process boxes and algorithm. What that simply means is this: if you put your crude oil up there, and you want to, I'm talking about refineries now, and you expect to see products at the end here, whether people like it or not, if you put the necessary experts, by the time they check their process boxes or decision boxes, they must know the problem. They must know the reason why you are not getting to the end. In the context of Nigeria, sir, with due respect, I don't intend to be rude. If you deploy the right oil and gas economists, oil and gas lawyers, oil and gas environmentalists, oil and gas engineers, oil and gas accountants, and even oil and gas journalists, and they decide to go in, they will tell you why something is blocking the system from getting to the end. Another example, let me just give human digestive system, sir. If you put food up there through the throat, you will expect that the food will come out at the end. If somebody is not able to excrete and the food is not coming out, if you congregate the right doctors, they must tell you what the problem is. If it is the kidney or the intestine. But in the context of Nigeria, with simple flowchart principle and technology, we can. Before I came here, I spoke to more than 5 Nigerians. Some are working in petrochemical factories, some are working in refineries, and some are process engineers, some are even drilling engineers overseas. I discussed with them before we got here. A
Mr.
barrel of crude oil cannot get missing.
Mr. Olushola in the UK, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Lorry.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
Good. Yeah. Right. Well, the reason I called in is to comment about the program.
The line has gone shaky. Are you in motion or something? Oh dear. We can't hear you well. Your voice is all trembling, and I know that's not you, so we can't hear you. You know, the line is shaky. So sorry about that.
Let me shock you. Let me shock you with something. Let me shock you. If you look at everybody, most of the praise singers and technocrats, all of them are trying to still justify why we should keep importing. But I will shock you, sir. They want Nigeria to be reduced to a country where you produce so much beans. But every time you want to buy akara or moimo, you will go to somebody who does not cultivate beans. This kind of people want Nigeria to be reduced to a country where you produce so much cassava. Every time you need gari or cassava flour, you will go to somebody who does not cultivate cassava. But let me tell you the worst and the satanic part, if we listen to them. If we keep on importing, sir, even the Dangote, I'm personal, even Dangote refinery will crash. Ask me how. It's very simple. Do you know the amount of monies that Dangote invested there? How much he paid for compensation? How much he paid for road construction? How much he paid to put those facilities? If Dangote refinery is there now and you allow some people, importation continues, some people will only carry briefcase, collect import license, and they will talk to their friends. Those people will just send in these refined petroleum products and they will be making their margins.
Okay, I'm going to come back.
When will Dangote pay
I'm going to come back to these points that you are making, but let me quickly bring Ada in. Good morning, Ada in
yes,
Jos.
No, calling from Jos, Plateau State. Good morning to your guest, Balazaka. I like listening to him. I'm so happy he has talked about the Dangote thing, because that was one of the questions I wanted to ask him, that if that Dangote refinery comes out, does he think it will work in Nigeria? And I'm happy he has answered my question. Now, let me tell you something, Mr. Yuri. I agree with Zaka. The problem in Nigeria is that we are saying we're knowing the problem. We know the problem. There is no political will to fight the problem. Who are the people who are stealing the oil? Is it you and I? It's not something you can just see anyhow, you know. And because they are up there, nobody is punishing anybody. Borders are so porous. The first we say we are even consuming. I don't even believe it. I'm not in their victim, but I know that even as a layperson, we're not even consuming that quantity of oil in the first instance. And most of the oil we're subsidizing for people outside. They go there and sell it to the neighboring countries where the price differential is very much, you know. That's the problem we have. Is the corruption in it. So even the people that come, we don't see the magic one. If the corruption is not stopped, if the oil service is not stopped, we're going to continue having this problem. So that's the problem. So there's a lot of fraud in this fuel subsidy thing. And then to what matters is that even the parameters they want to use in pushing is like it's even fraudulent. And then today I saw in the streaming headline, they all have hardship allowance for themselves, running into trillions. And then they have inflicted hardship on the citizens. And yet they have hazard allowance. Only God will help us in this country. All the semblance of people for Nigeria, all the agenda.
Thank you very much, Ada, for calling in. Now you've said a lot. And,
no, I'm just warming up.
I can imagine for you, but you've said plenty, and a lot of it is pointing towards self-inflicted harm.
Exactly.
Self-inflicted harm, if indeed you are accurate.
You've just reminded me. If it is not self-inflicted harm, explain to me, sir. The last time Nigeria constructed a refinery was around 1989 and 1990. Let's assume it was 1990. From 1990 to now, you're talking about 33 years. The generation of Nigerian leaders that we inherited didn't deem it fit to maintain even the refineries they inherited, not to talk about constructing new ones. Do we need anybody to tell us that we'll run into energy crisis? Is that the way Libya was behaving? Is that the way Saudi Arabia was behaving? You don't need anybody to tell you that that will be what you technically call self-inflicted injury. Another thing again that you talk, how do you expect a country of 200 million citizens to be relying on a product whose raw material they have? What is even the meaning of value chain? What is the technical and economic meaning of crystallization? What do you mean? What is the meaning of value addition? When you talk about those things, it means look for something crude, process it. When you process it, it becomes something viable and you use.
You are not talking, you seem to be talking about not a lack of competency to do this job. No. That's not. Sabotage.
Exactly.
Is internal sabotage, and everyone seems to be in on it because
some people, those who have the powers, are pretending, because along our value chain, processing line of crystallization, we have economic vampires. We have economic marauders, we have economic traitors and betrayers. And I'm telling you, they are only along this chain and constituting a clog on the wheel of progress, because those who have the economic and political powers allow them to be there.
Of course, the natural question for a guy who doesn't know anything about it is, why are they allowed? That's where collusion comes in.
And let me explain.
That's where an allegation of collusion comes in. Okay, but let me check this time whether Mr. Akinyemi has come back or not. The other told us he has come back. Mr. Akinyemi, is it you?
Thank you, sir. It's me. It's me. Actually, it's me, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. I really appreciate you, sir.
Please carry on.
Hello. Okay, thank you. My own take are all this. I really appreciate the way TVC are doing things. You carry along everybody on your own program. And I really appreciate you for doing that. And I want to emphasize my own concern to our new incoming president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I would not want him to make the mistake that Buhari-led administration has made at the past. A nation where there's a hungers, everybody was sufficient, everything, insecurity, and whatever. We are suffering from all those kind of ailments. Instead of them to borrow money and repair our refinery, if assuming they have borrowed that money to repair our refineries now, maybe we have about 5 or 6 refineries working. As at now, I thought that money will have been paying back through the refinery repair.
Okay.
That
all right.
means all the fuel that we are producing through that refinery now will be generating more money into Nigeria's account, and will be paying back those debts through what we have established with the money.
Okay.
But now, you say you took all the money, you repair all the roads. What has the road put in place for us? I know it is really, really important for us to have a good road. But something that's supposed to come at second, you brought it at the first thing on our table.
Okay.
That is why
you're saying that our priorities are wrong. Thank you very much, Mr. Akinyemi. Really appreciate your call. Now, what he's saying,
I got him completely. Let me
yes, and it seems logical enough.
No, it's not intelligent enough, and the reality and so elementary. The solution.
But that's not what we're doing.
No, he was talking about the poverty, the poverty index in Nigeria, sir. The minimum wage in Nigeria today is 30,000 Nigerian naira. There are some who cannot.
There's no other kind.
Some even who are not even paying up to that. Sir, in Nigeria today, the minimum wage of Nigeria, monthly minimum wage, cannot buy a 50-kilogram bag of rice. The minimum wage in Nigeria today cannot buy a 50-liter jerry can of diesel. And quote me, regardless of the countries. When I hear some people will say in some countries they pay dollars, this, so many cents per liter. Go and find out the minimum wage. So let me answer quickly.
That table has been put out, and it has been shown that Nigeria's gas, what Americans call gas, Nigeria's petrol is the cheapest.
Is the cheapest. What is the minimum wage there? And what is the minimum wage of Nigeria? Put them side by side. Sir, any country, whether those places they call gas, where the entire monthly minimum wage of the citizen, any country, even the poorest country, if the monthly minimum wage cannot buy a 50-kilogram bag of rice in that country is in trouble. That is the simple thing. If it cannot buy a 50-liter jerry can of diesel, that country is in trouble. And sir, let me tell you, the minimum wage in Nigeria today has been eroded. Let me explain the GDP of Nigeria today. The first one is what we call the consumption index. Consumption index is down because the disposable income of Nigerian citizens have been eroded by inflation. That's one. When you go to the investment index is down because investors are suffering from business climate hostilities. If you go to what we call statement of income and expense, after gross profit, the next thing you need to do before you get to your profit before tax, you look at your expenses, check the cost of energy there. Check the cost of energy. It has whacked up everything. When you go to the investment index and government is always complaining that they don't have what do we call it, money. But the worst part that I'm surprised we cannot confront our government and reverse the direction is the export-import differential. Nigeria today is doing more of importation, and it is affecting our forex. And you are telling us, first of all, instead of us to fight and get the refineries fixed, whether private or whatever, some people want us to still be managing importation. And you know the effect on export-import differential equation and the GDP and what it is going to do to forex.
And as if this was all of this
Why are they thinking like this?
If all of this wasn't bad enough, we still have the matter of oil theft, the unending
we will
oil
talk
theft
about that
part.
and
But
bloody illegal refineries.
Let me quickly bring in Mr. Yakubu. Good morning, Mr. Yakub.
Yeah, excuse me. Are you hearing me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Saka.
Morning, sir.
Chief Jolly, I think I totally agree with Mr. Saka. And then I hope Ashwad Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president-elect, if not him personally watch this program, I think the ally will be watching this program this morning. I think they need somebody like Balasaka, and then your guys. And then I want to hope that he find it deemed fit to write open letter to Ashwad Bola Ahmed Tinubu concerning this very particular issue that we are discussing this morning. You know why? Mr. Balasaka has been on this show for a while. I've been following him up and down from TVC to channel to every station. He continues to say the same thing because he knows what he's saying. And then he knows the problem that's facing the oil and gas in this country. Please, I want to tell you, sir, if you have never written open letter to Ashwad Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president, please do so because I can see that you really know what you are talking about because Ashwad Bola Ahmed Tinubu did say, he told the labor organization in this country prior to that election that come, whether you like it or not, go and dust your placard to protest. I'm going to remove the subsidy. He said so.
Yeah.
And then he even told them that, and then I'm going to win this election. And then he did win this election. I voted for it. A lot of Nigerians voted for it. And then he has won the election. Now, I want to ask Mr. Balasaka, do you support of being removed this fuel subsidy to Ashwad Bola Ahmed Tinubu? And that is just no support.
No.
It's a no. It's clear.
Never.
He has said
just
no.
Because of what you said, tomorrow,
Sir, what do you think he needs to do to make it possible for Nigerian citizens not to go on protest? And then we all know that the fuel subsidy of 18 is a little people that are enjoying this.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Mr. Yaku. I'm sorry to rush you a bit because I did want you to touch for a little while on the whole matter of stealing.
I would address that quickly.
Yes.
Let me also tell you, just because of what he said, tomorrow, there is this confusion between Labour Party and Nigeria Labour Congress. Tomorrow, I will be a guest of Nigeria Labour Congress to discuss on this thing.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, all the people that are saying we are subsidizing consumption, they don't know what they are talking. Because what you think is a consumption to you is a catalyst that will help somebody to reach an end. In fact, I was discussing with a clergyman, and I was telling him, I said, you preach to people. He said, yes. I said, to you, they are consuming. But to them, it's not consumption. It is what they need to become better people. So when I hear people saying you are subsidizing consumption, to you, that generator man, you are subsidizing petrol for him. But for the generator, that generator man or that business center man or that hairdressing salon person, it is that petrol that you think you are subsidizing consumption. Is that person just need it as a part of his or her business crystallization process? So people should not always, if
Okay.
I...
Talk to me a bit about stealing. About
Stealing.
The unending oil
That
theft.
is another
We have
thing.
more than 60 seconds for that.
No problem. First of all the OPEC member nations, there is no crude oil stealing. Somebody should prove me wrong. All the gas nations that Nigeria is a member of, there is no crude oil stealing.
So how is that
it tells
different?
you. And all these bodies, cartels, Nigeria can go to them for advice. As at June last year, a Nigerian was the OPEC Secretary General, late Sanusi Barkindo, for almost 7 years. It tells you something is wrong with the governance structure of Nigeria. In terms of stealing, it's a shame. It's a shame because I remember that some years ago, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala said Nigeria was losing about 400,000 barrels of crude oil per day. The unit of crude oil is called barrels. When you come, 42 gallons is equals to 1 barrel. Then 4 liters is, is equals to 4 liters is equals...
1 gallon, Abi?
1 gallon. When you multiply that, you will get about 60-something million liters of crude oil that Nigeria was losing. But let me tell you
on a daily basis.
When I divided that by the capacity of a 33-liter tanker, I discovered that based on what she said, Nigeria was losing an average of 2,000 tankers to thieves daily.
Every day.
And my
2,000.
summary, yes, it is not possible. But even if it was happening, which I believe the IOCs were suffering from, then it was a well-crafted, a well-syndicated criminality. And if you look at it, even with the passage of the Petroleum Industry Act, has the crude oil stealing stopped? What happened recently? It was a gathering of stakeholders that stopped it. So even the time spent on that PIA and other things, where are the investors?
You know, we're going to have to
where are they
with these open-ended questions.
Allowing this thing, they want to sing the incoming government and deceive it because the anarchy will be 10 times more than that 8 trillion or 6 trillion naira that they are looking through the aperture of ignorance.
If subsidy is removed, which you are counseling against.
Never. They shouldn't try it.
Well, Mr. Bala, Comrade Bala, it's not Mr. It has to be Comrade Bala Zaka, oil and gas analyst.
Where they will call me Comrade tomorrow, NLC.
I want to thank you very much, and at least scratching the surface for us, because you need hours to really exhaustively talk about this.
You should organize it.
Indeed.
It's a national thing to help the incoming government to get it right.
So thank you very much for this.
No worries, sir.
You know, our appreciation.
Thank you, sir.
That's our program today. Please join us on Monday for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folare. Bye-bye for now.